Welcome to the City Current Show. I'm your host, Andrew Bartolotta. We're always honored to bring you inspiring stories of individuals and organizations making an impact in our community and around the globe. And today we're going to dive deep into the intricacies of workplace dynamics and the art of cultivating high performance teams with Lori Ann Duguay, the luminary behind People Powered Solutions and the author of The Happiness Factor: How to Create a Positive and Productive Workplace. With over 2 decades in the government sector, Lori has taken her insights and has been revolutionizing the corporate landscape. We've interviewed her before, and she is such a breadth of knowledge. Lori, thank you so much for joining us again.
So great to be back on the show. Thanks for having me.
Of course. And since we've interviewed you before, you've published your book, The Happiness Factor. What motivated you to pen down your thoughts and insights on creating a positive workplace?
Actually, it was a variety of things that motivated it. But at the end of the day, there's so much literature and articles and education out there in terms of what drives motivation, what helps someone feel engaged and fulfilled at work. Not a whole heck of a lot of information relevant to how do you operationalize that? Where's the how to? It's that I've got this information. I know what needs to be provided, but how do I provide it for my team members? So I decided to write the book just to be able to help and broaden my scope of impact. I recognize and realize that I'm just one person, and the amount of organizations and companies that we're able to support as a company is really small. While if you write a book and suddenly put a how-to guide in the hands of anyone who reaches out and picks it up, they all have some level of control and a plan to improve on the workplace culture the minute they're done reading. So that was that willingness to broaden my scope of impact is really what drove me bringing this project to fruition in just over a year.
Well, I think it's so important. This book really is something that needs to be on the shelves of all HR managers and as well as employees, because it really is. I love the practicality and the resources inside. You discuss 10 motivational needs for employees that are the key to happier and more productive staff. And so you've got like work-life balance, purpose and impact, recognition, leadership, to name a few. Share with us the broad spectrum of the 10 and how they really maximize employee engagement and then help with retention, which is a huge issue we're all seeing right now in the workplace.
A huge issue. 1 in 4 of your current team members are eyeballing that exit door. So never has it been more important to take some time to think about the experience that you're offering your team members. How they're currently experiencing their journey within your company is really the key, and improving on that journey, on that workplace culture, is the key to increasing your retention. And I wrote the book with 2 specific audiences in mind. Obviously, the business owner, the HR leader who wants to improve for their team, or maybe you're just a supervisor or a manager who wants to do better for your team and create a better environment. Awesome. Definitely the book for you. Maybe you're that person who's feeling stuck. And I think most of us have had experiences where they're feeling less than fulfilled at work. In recent months, we heard of this term called quiet quitting, which really makes me internally giggle, because ultimately it's a new term for a long-term phenomenon. This has been around forever. And what it is the notion of someone feeling checked out at work. And so by highlighting those 10 needs, someone who is feeling stuck, doesn't understand why it is, they can cross-reference those 10 needs and figure out how much are those specific needs being provided to me in my current state, and then work with their organization to improve and figure out what needs to happen in order for some of the maybe missed or unprovided needs to be fulfilled. So both audiences, those 10 needs, to answer your question. Number 1 is clarity. People want to understand what the expectations of the organizations are. They need to understand what their role is and how their role contributes to the broader organizational objectives. They need to understand what they can expect from you as an organization as well. So what you expect from them and what they expect from you. So they want clarity. They just want to understand those expectations, because more often than not, conflict, tension, even feeling checked out stems from a lack of clarity. They just don't know. So there are several ways and very specific strategies I provide in the book on how to provide more clarity in the day-to-day operations. The next one being communication. They want to be in the know. They want to understand with clarity, but be in the know. And how do you do that? It's by communicating. So as an organization, you need to make sure that you are facilitating and enabling, and you have the systems in place to allow the flow, that 360 flow of information, top down, bottom up, peer to peer, and providing information to employees to be able to accomplish the work that you expect from them. So communication, clarity. Next is purpose and impact. People want to make a difference. They want to know that the work they do on the daily, although they might not see that impact, that organization-wide, the products, services, whatever the case may be that you are offering to people outside of your organization is changing their lives. It's having an impact. It's important for you to help employees connect to that impact, to connect to that purpose, to convey what are our organizational values, what is our vision, what are we working towards, what is our mission, how are we navigating towards that vision, and and the values being, what's the rules of conduct, that what are we going to uphold as a team as we navigate towards that vision? What are we going to uphold as an organization to ensure that we're able to achieve that vision? So ensuring that you're conveying that purpose and impact. After purpose and impact, growth. They need to know there's room to grow, or ultimately they will go. In my particular case with government, 21 years, I had for the first 15 years no line of sight for growth. There was because I was in a satellite office, there was no option for growth. So that being said, I checked out early on in my career because I could not see that there was room to grow. So make sure you communicate the different growth opportunities within your organization, that you showcase it not only internally, externally, to attract that next generation of workers, right? You want to teach people how and educate them that although you come in maybe as a general laborer on the shop floor, here are some prime examples, success stories that started there and now they're C-suite perhaps. Doesn't have to be that broad of a scope of spectrum, but just make sure that people understand that starting into your company is only the beginning, and that you are going to invest in their growth. And how you invest in that growth and get them there is that next need: training and development, learning and development. They need to be provided with this continuous investment in their evolution of skills, their evolution of capabilities. And so they're feeling on a regular basis that they're being valued, and that they're being invested in to be able to become that next version of themselves and to grow their toolkit, if you will, of competencies, and that you're okay with growing their skills and understanding that maybe one day they'll leave you and bring those skills elsewhere, but you value them. And so you're going to invest in that development. And that in and of itself will start to nurture that seed of loyalty. Basically, throughout the book, I talk of that seed of loyalty and how important it is to plant it before you've even hired them, as a means of getting them invested in that broader purpose of the organization, by making them want to work for you and be a part of that purpose and be a part of that impact on the world, right? I think your show is 100% about those individuals and those companies who do that very, very well. The next need, so we've got clarity, we've got communication, we've got growth, and we've got purpose and impact, as well as training and development, learning and development. So we're down to recognition. People want to be seen, heard, and valued. And how you do that is with recognition. And recognition, understanding that it takes on many forms. And so many times I hear, oh, we just don't have a budget for it. We just don't have enough money for that. No, you know what? They're not leaving you for more money more often than not. They're leaving you because they don't feel seen, and they want to go somewhere where they do feel seen, heard, and valued. So feedback and enabling and facilitating feedback, and it doesn't have to be all on the leadership's shoulders either. Create a culture that embraces feedback and encourages it and facilitates it, even through a kudos system where peers recognize each other for work well done. There's so many ways you can get innovative on this. for low to no cost. So just make sure that you're taking the time to see how you're providing and facilitating that feedback, but also to understand how each team member prefers to receive recognition, because much like the love languages, we don't like to all receive recognition the same way. Some people are a-okay with public accolades and a shout out at a team huddle, while others prefer more intimate one-on-one kind of conversation. But at the end of the day, everybody wants some form of recognition. So take the time to find out how they prefer to receive it. So don't take the cookie cutter approach, as I say. The next need that is crucial to any organization is work-life balance. And more importantly, post-pandemic, when people were forced into this pause, this global pause, where they recognize that the hustle culture does not have to be the norm. And so that being said, ensure that you're providing flexibility for employees, for team members to structure their day and structure their work as much as, of course, operationally possible in a way that they feel they've got some locus of control over how they approach their job. That will go a long way. Also, invest in mental health and helping them tend to mental health and understand the yin and yang of, if you're not taking care of yourself at home, it's inevitably going to have a ripple effect and transpire into your work, and vice versa. So helping them strike that balance and supporting them in striking that balance, and supporting them to disconnect and telling them that it's okay. We respect that you have a life outside work, and we are okay with that, and we support that. Making sure that you have systems and you have programs in place that helps transmit and convey that statement. So we've got work-life balance. At the root of many, many, many issues with culture is leadership. Take the time to invest in training and setting your leadership up for success, helping them understand how to coach and how to empower their employees, how to help them recognize their potential and move away from that command and control, you do so because I say so mentality, and embrace the value and power that coaching can bring to their approach to leadership. So helping them take a more people-powered approach to leadership. Autonomy, we're almost at the tail end of our 10 here. Autonomy and empowerment, which is what we just talked about, is people want to have some level of control over their day-to-day. They want to know that the work they do is seen, valued, but also that you trust them to do their work. Move away from that micromanagement mentality, right? So how can you afford more autonomy over their work and provide them with the flexibility and empower them to step into their full potential? The final one, relationships. So relationships is key. We spend more hours of our day with our coworkers than we do with our families. That being said, you need to take time as an organization to continuously measure, gauge, and tend to the relationships amongst team members, the relationships amongst departments, as well as the relationships between management and team members, and externally with clients. So relationships are the last thing that I want on. I think that's the 10. Clarity, communication, purpose and impact, recognition, autonomy, leadership, work-life balance, relationships. I think I went through all 10.
Yeah, I think you did it. And if you didn't, that's why they need to read the book, right? I
Exactly.
mean, the book is so great because not only do you dive deeper into those 10, but then also like with the practical lessons that you have implemented in these businesses, and then these resources and tools to then make it a part of this end-to-end employee experience, which you talk and emphasize a lot about with people-powered solutions. So can you share a short success story where optimizing this journey really made a significant difference?
Absolutely. It's a story that I believe I share in the book, but I have a client who, when they took the time to measure their employee engagement, their employee satisfaction, it takes on a lot of different names, but ultimately how motivated people were feeling at work and versus how checked out they are, they realized that despite their retention being amazing, because they are the nature of the industry they're in makes it that the work itself is so interesting. They can be building parts for Tesla one week and nuclear waste disposal units the following. And they've also got some projects for like some medical breakthrough type stuff. Like it's a broad spectrum. And the nature of the work itself is so interesting that people are sticking around. But when they took the time to measure engagement, it was at 21% satisfaction, which is the lowest I've ever seen any of my clients come up with in terms of the satisfaction. So they brought us in to help them map out, their current state. And then we identified key touch points throughout and this methodology is actually, I give it to the reader in the book. We mapped out kind of what are the key touch points that we're losing people? Where do we tend to be losing more people? And we focused on those areas first to improve. And then we identified some medium, longer term solutions, which we then implemented and integrated, developed, and then rolled out. And they've not only they doubled their retention that was already very good, but they doubled it. And they decreased their turnover by, oh my God, it was because they were actually losing a lot at the onset during orientation and onboarding. Within the first 3 months, they were losing people, which was, a red flag that we need to revisit how we're bringing people into the organization. And are we, in fact, setting them up for success? Or are we leaving them to fend for themselves and they decide it's not worth it, I'm out, which is exactly what was happening. But they ended up decreasing their turnover pretty significantly. I think it went down by at least 30%, as well as the satisfaction rate when they remeasured almost 2 years after we'd started working together. Their satisfaction rate had went up by, I believe it was 60%. It was up like closer to the 80s then, which was pretty impressive, right? Which explains why turnover went down, retention stayed up, but production, that was the game changing. Production was through the roof because people were not only there occupying space, they were there, they were invested, and they suddenly wanted to perform at a crazy level that they were not feeling inclined to 2 years prior, before all of our different initiatives were rolled out.
Well, it just goes to show how important the work that you're doing really is key to not only employee recruitment, but attainment as well. And so one of the really cool things throughout your book is the data when it comes to how important it is to keep an employee, recruit an employee, but then also how detrimental it is to have an unengaged employee in your workplace. They're really like this cancer that is just eating through your entire staff, and how it can really just take down some of your other rather well employees because of just the culture around it. There's a lot of generational diversity in the workplace today. Have you found any unique engagement drivers specific to maybe different age groups you'd like to touch on?
Absolutely. If you think about the more seasoned workers who have been the more tenured, who'd been around longer, they value that autonomy much more than a younger generation, for example, who, as opposed to that more tenured worker who, just trust me to do the work I do. I've been here long enough. I know how I'm doing it. They require more support, and I call it like a box to play within. Make sure that you give them the space to move around, but tell them the structure, what this might look like, and then coach them on the first few times. So they'll require more support at the onset of their career, at the onset of their stepping into the role. And the younger generations even more, because they are from a generation where they had maybe helicopter parents who were around all the time and constantly providing their support. So they expect that to also translate into the workplace. So just a quick kind of difference in terms of what they value. I think there are some that, regardless of the generation, they're important. Communication, it impacts everyone. And it's the number one complaint when it comes to any engagement survey. It's in reference to communication. I've got a template. We've got like a kind of a bundle that we help clients with for your engagement exercise, and how to roll that out and how to structure it to include measuring the level to which you're delivering on these 10 needs. So it's a great kind of starting point to understand what the needs are, but then to measure it use and leverage the power of that employee engagement survey, the power of the performance development plan, to be able to continuously gauge how you're providing for those 10 needs.
That is so important. And I love that you have, once again, tried and true tips and resources that you come into these organizations and really make an impact and be able to find those employees that need better engagement or better support systems. And then you go, okay, here are some tools that we can do to help them thrive. For our listeners who are leaders or HR professionals, what's maybe one piece of advice you'd like to share about nurturing a thriving workplace?
Measure it. You might think you're doing amazing already. Talk to your people, ask your team members, measure how you're actually, how they're currently experiencing their journey within your company. Don't make assumptions, right? I know that's more than one, but they're all linked to that same concept of take time, pause, and take time to hold the mirror up to your organization and understand what that journey currently looks like. And I guarantee you'll find some optimization opportunities in that exercise.
Great advice. Where can people go to learn more about you, hire you for their workplace, and purchase the Happiness Factor?
We have the Happiness Factor. We are so grateful, has achieved bestseller status on both Amazon Canada and Amazon US. So certainly you can hop on Amazon and just look for the name, the Happiness Factor. And you can connect with us at bepeoplepowered.com, because it's ultimately the impact we want to bring to the world of work, help organizations really leverage the power of their people. So bepeoplepowered.com to connect with us. They're welcome to schedule. There's a link right on there to schedule a free discovery meeting so we can talk a bit more about some of their challenges and offer some on the spot insight into how they might want to address some of those challenges or mitigate them. And finally, I'm on LinkedIn, so feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn as well.
Lori, it is always such a pleasure to get to talk to you. Congratulations on your book, achieving bestseller status, and for really, once again, just all the resources inside. It really is such a great resource for employees, HR professionals, and beyond. Thank you for the work that you are doing to help cultivate high performance teams, and thanks for powering the good.
Thank you. Thanks again for giving me this opportunity to share some of this information so we can continue to broaden our scope of impact on the world of work.